Hello, and welcome to Q&A Tuesday. So I started off this idea of sharing some of my biggest mistakes and some of my struggles based on the fact that I've had a couple of conversations where people have said to me that they don't really, they haven't seen, or they never knew I had some of the struggles that I had. Or they didn't even know. A lot of my clients have said to me that they didn't even know I was working full-time while I was building my business, while I did 2 of my 5-figure program launches, that they didn't even know that I was actually working the entire time. So it got me thinking that maybe I haven't really shared enough about my own journey and my mistakes and the things that worked or didn't work in my business. So if you are just joining me, I'd love to know that you're there. So just say hi, because I can't see who it is. And thanks for joining me. And so I want to talk first, while I was writing this whole long list, which just kept getting longer and longer and longer, about the mistakes I've made or the things I've learned, or things to avoid in the future, or things that I struggled with. I kind of had an idea that I wanted. Hey Caitlin, thanks for joining me. I had an idea that I wanted to share first, something that I hadn't really planned on sharing, which is that in this journey, it feels really uncomfortable when, for example, you're an overachiever. I know, Caitlin, you target a lot of people who typically are overachievers, and I definitely would describe myself as being an overachiever at times. And one of the things that was really difficult in this journey is that when you're used to getting things really quickly, or when you're used to knowing what you're doing, you're always a beginner in this entrepreneurial thing. You're always a beginner when it comes to learning how to create sales funnels. You're always a beginner when it comes to learning about Facebook ads. And we're just not really used to feeling uncomfortable in the, I don't know how to do this. And I personally don't really love asking for help. It's definitely a growing edge for me. So asking for help when I felt like a beginner and I didn't know what I was doing was really uncomfortable, on top of something really uncomfortable. So noticing that in this journey, every single stage, every step of the way, you are a beginner, and that you only become a professional by one time being a beginner. So it takes some learning, and it takes some time to get some of these concepts down, and not being so hard on yourself that the very first time you do it, you're overwhelmed, or you don't know how to write, or you don't know how to design that, or you don't know what it's supposed to look like, or you don't know what to say when that question comes up or when that objection comes up. So recognizing that you're a beginner, feeling uncomfortable and feeling that discomfort, and knowing that you won't always be a beginner if you consistently show up and learn. So again, that was another thing I wrote down about what was one of the, that was something that's hard, but it's something that I think has been one of the main reasons that I've been successful, is the fact that I have made a commitment to being consistent with certain things in my business. And the reason I decided to make a commitment to doing things consistently, things like Q&A Tuesday, is because those things were not comfortable and not fun and not exciting for me at the beginning. So some of the things I really hated when I started my business was email marketing and video. And those were 2 of those things that I had no choice but to do. I hated doing videos, and I hated writing emails to my list. And I felt like such a fish out of water, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And it wasn't fun, and it wasn't the reason I got into my business. I got into coaching because I wanted to coach people, not because I wanted to be a salesperson, not because I wanted to be a copywriter, not because I wanted to be an actress or on video or a reporter or even a teacher. I really didn't get into my business because I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a coach. And along this journey, you realize that you need to wear a lot of hats. Again, you're a beginner. So you need to learn how to do all these things. And some of the things are not things that you love. And now I do really enjoy it. Not so much writing emails, but I do really enjoy doing videos and teaching and talking about some of the concepts that help you in building a business, especially when people are feeling overwhelmed. Because overwhelm is one of those things that always seems to derail me in my journey. If I feel overwhelmed, I get nothing done. If I feel overwhelmed, I just get stuck. And if I stay stuck, then my business stays stuck. And so I've always had to find some way to move forward over my overwhelm. And some of the things I've done and put in place to prevent me from getting stuck in overwhelm is, one, making a commitment to be consistent, making a commitment at all, right? So saying, I'm going to do this on this day, declaring it to people. And then, the worst one is asking for help. I hate asking for help, but when I feel overwhelmed, the only thing that I can do to prevent me from staying stuck is actually sharing that, is saying, I feel overwhelmed, I don't know what to do. And even just saying that, and when I don't even know what I'm saying that about, just like telling you a story still feels uncomfortable to me because I don't enjoy asking for help. And I recognize, though, that if I don't ask for help, I stay stuck in that spot. So when feeling overwhelmed, rather than just throwing in the towel, ask for help. Get help. If you're feeling like a beginner, ask for help. If you are not enjoying something that you know is going to move your business forward and it's not fun, make a commitment to do it consistently on a specific day in a specific way, or declare it and tell people, I'm going to be doing this on this day, so that you have to show up and do it. Because having a deadline on things makes you kind of gets your butt in gear. And that's also when it comes to money, because I was working a full-time job. So I was making over 6 figures at the time in my job. And so it didn't feel like I needed to start making money. And so sales calls and offering my services for free felt fine. Why not? I'm making money. I don't need that. I'm doing it because I love it. I'm doing it because this is what I've wanted to do. I've wanted to coach people for so long. Well, I know I've talked about this at length, so I won't do it on this one, but offering your services for free doesn't actually help anybody. So if you are feeling afraid of speaking about money on your calls with people, if you're not feeling good about doing sales, if you don't want to be a salesperson and you don't want to come off as salesy and you don't want to send emails to your list every single day or 3 times a day, or that you don't even have a list and you don't really want one because you don't want to be one of those annoying people that sends out sales emails, remember that, that you are not helping anybody if you're not making money. And so really looking deep into what's happening for me when it comes to money. So now that we're on that topic, sales calls is something that I used to actually enjoy because I was coaching people. Really, that's what a sales call is to me, is a coaching experience. It's a coaching call, more so than a sales call. But the reality of it is that there will come a time in this call where either you gave it all away for free, so you're not going to help them, because if you gave it to them all away for free, they're likely going to get off the call and not do anything with it. And if you didn't give it all away for free and they're like, okay, how can I work with you? And then all of a sudden they come up and say, well, I can't afford it. Or, well, I'm not really ready right now. And then you're like, okay, thanks, have a great day. That was so fun. And then you're like, why am I not making money? I speak to so many people. I'm such a good coach. I'm like changing people's lives. Well, the reality is that we let our money stuff, our not wanting to be salesy, our objections, and our buying into their fear stories, that we allow them to get off the call and not get the help that they need and not make any money. And then we're like, okay, great. Like I did my piece. I did well. I don't need to get paid for this. Like I love it. I would do it for free. Oh, I say that all the time. I would do this for free. So you don't need to pay me. It's not about me, one. And two, they do need to pay you if you want to stay in business. So how do you change your mindset, your vibes on sales calls and get bold and talk to people about money and not buy into those objections and money stories is the game changer on how you start making money from those calls. Because the objections we typically buy into are, I can't afford it. One of the things I tell my ladies all the time around that is that none of us could afford it. I certainly couldn't afford it when I hired a business coach. I don't really know many people that just have that amount of money just lying around to say, okay, sure, yeah, I'll hire a business coach. And if they do, it's likely not going to have the same impact as it will if it was difficult for you to pay for or difficult for the person to pay for. They need to have some skin in the game. They need to be invested in the result. They need to want it so badly that they're willing to do whatever it takes to get there. And if they're not that invested, then it's not going to work out. So you're always going to deal with these objections. And the objections are really fear. Because for me, I'm a business coach, which we can discuss after. I didn't even want to call myself a business coach, but I am a business coach. And I am here, not that I talk about this all the time, but I help my clients create every single building block that goes into building an online business. So that includes sales funnels, Facebook ads, all the techie things behind what's actually happening in people's business. So just so you know, in case you didn't know this, like everyone online that's making money has a sales funnel. It's an automated sales funnel. It's strategic and it's psychologically created. So it has psychological foundations or principles behind how it works. There is a structure that is behind all this stuff, and that's something I teach in my program. But I teach people how to build a business. So if somebody says to me on the phone, well, I can't afford it. Well, that's why we're talking to each other. If you are making money in your business, if you were having all the business success that you wanted, then we would not be on the phone. You wouldn't need my services. And so it's the chicken before the egg. So like, do you invest or do you wait until you have the money? Because you will never have the money just lying around to say, okay, today I'm going to hire a business coach because I won the lottery. Well, a business coach is there to help you make more money. So one of the mistakes I made at the very beginning of my business was seeing my business for what it is right now, rather than seeing what it is that I want my business to be in the future and assuming that my business is going to be that. Because if I assume that it's going to be making that, I'm going to have those things in place, then I take different action to create that. So if I assumed that I was still going to not be making any money or be charging $200 for a client in 6 months from now, and so how can I afford a business coach? Well, no, because the premise or the assumption is that I will be making significantly more money because I will have invested in a business coach. Same thing when it comes to health. So how am I going to be able to afford this? Well, assuming that your health is getting in the way of your well-being, that includes your job, how you show up at your job, that includes your relationships, that includes what you're eating, what you're spending money on, medical bills. So even if you're in health, in 6 months from now, you're not going to be the same person if you change certain things about your eating habits, your lifestyle, etc. So you're not going to be spending money on certain things, and you're not going to have the same sort of expenses that you had before. You're going to have different ones. In addition to the fact that, I'm not going to lie, it did require sacrifice. There were things that I had to say no to because I was saying yes to something else. I was saying no to spending money on alcohol and going out for dinner. I was saying no to purchasing new clothes for work, or I was saying no to maybe doing certain activities in order to send that money towards my business, because that investment was going to grow my business, whereas maybe going out for dinner wasn't. I also downsized my apartment at the time. And again, it's like, okay, if I save money here, I can invest it somewhere else. So there was sacrifice. Like, I will not sugarcoat it. Like, it's not like I was able to just like afford. And to be honest, there were times when my credit card was maxed out and I didn't know how I was going to pay for my coach. And I would go to her and say, well, like, I don't have the money to pay you this month. And you know what would happen? She'd be like, well, you better get your butt in gear and you better go and make that money. So this is the journey of, we don't have the money. So if we allow other people to stay stuck in their money stories of I can't afford it, they're never going to move forward. We would never have moved forward if we didn't make that decision that we would sacrifice other things, or we would make changes in other areas to find a way to make it work. That we needed to ask for help and feel uncomfortable and be like, okay, like, this is yucky, but actually this is a sign that I believe I will be successful at this. Because if I had even an idea in my mind that there was a chance that this wouldn't work, I wouldn't have invested that money. That is a really good point about people are always looking for a reason not to invest. They're looking for a reason why this is not for them. So if I had thought that there was even a chance that this wouldn't work, I couldn't have invested. And so I only invested in it because I truly believed that I would do whatever it took, short of selling my body, to make it happen. And that is the kind of focus and drive that is required on this journey. I have seen it many times that when you even give yourself an inch of leeway to say maybe this isn't going to work out, then you will take it, because it's not always easy. So you will take that inch if there is even an option to give up. So you can't give yourself that option. It has to be non-negotiable. Like, there's no possible way I will do whatever it takes to make this work. Now that goes for program launches, offers, etc. When something's not working, if something hasn't sold in 5 minutes, we don't just give up on it. We look at what's working, what's not working, and we fix it, we reinvent it, we change it, but we stick with it. Like, you have to stick with your offers. You can't be all over the place and focusing on all these things everywhere. That is a really good point that I did write down, is like, you have to have laser focus, because there are so many distractions everywhere, especially on social media. If you are paying attention to those things, you're going to get, firstly, time suckers about webinars and lead magnets and watch this video. And I mean, I'm doing this right now, right? Like, watch this video, or join this Facebook group, or engage in this challenge. But when you're actually building a business and you have a plan, you cannot be watching webinars and building businesses. Caitlin, I know. You sent me an email about it. That's one of the reasons I'm talking about this. But even in my last LEAP program, I actually did a challenge around this, is because it's so easy to get sucked into, I need that. That's what I need. Oh, that's what I need. Oh, let me just watch this. I'm going to get something that I need from that. That's going to help me. You have to remember that these are people's sales funnels. So yeah, you might get a tidbit of information, but it's going to be the same information you already have. Like, once you know the process, which any of the ladies in my group do know the process, they are telling you the exact same thing, packaged in a different way. And they're doing it because they want to get you into their sales funnel so that they can say to you, you need this. This is going to be the be all and end all to what you are looking for. This is going to fix your sales funnel. This is going to make you money. Like, listen, I know I do it. We all do it because we're business owners and we are selling our offers. However, when you are in the building and creation phase, you can't be looking around at everyone else's paper because you're going to start doubting what you're doing. And the only way for you to come out in the things that you do is to focus inward and not compare yourself to other people. One of the things that made me not want to be a business coach in the first place was looking around at other people's papers. I would look around and say, I know some people look around at people's things and say, oh, I want to have my thing look exactly like that. I was the complete opposite. I was like, I do not want to be like that. I do not want to look like that. I don't want my stuff to be like that. I don't want to sound like that. I don't want to look like that. I don't want to do that. And I wanted to avoid being like that at all costs, which made me not even want to be a business coach in general. But if I looked around at what other people were doing, I was like, ugh, I don't want to look like that. Which makes you go back and like doubt everything that you're creating. And in reality, if you just stick to your stuff, if you pay attention to what you are doing, stay focused on creating and expressing who you are and what you have to offer and the wisdom you know and your story and how you can help people and connecting with people rather than looking at other business owners. That's how you're going to build a business, because looking at other people and spending time checking out your competition not only is taking time out of you building your business, but is also instilling fear and doubt inside of you. So now you can't even express yourself the way you would have had you not looked at those things. So of all things, focus on your own paper. Focus on you and what you have to give and what you're good at and what your message is. Because you've collected, if you're anything like me, I am an information gatherer, which is great for, oh, did you know this? Oh, did you know that? Oh, I heard about this. Oh, I heard about that. But when it comes to actually creating things, it can get you overwhelmed and you're like, well, what am I going to say? What am I going to tell them? You need to be strategic and focused and only say things you simplify. You want to make it as simple as possible. And if you are overwhelmed by all this information, all these different things that you need to incorporate, you're going to lose track of what you are doing. So if I can say anything that is most important is to keep your eyes on your own paper and stay focused on your goal and do everything it takes to accomplish your goals. I know I've told this story a couple times before, but I'll just mention it that when I did my very first webinar, I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but I hated doing video, number one. Hated it. I didn't have, yeah, exactly. Ain't nobody got time for that. But when I did my first webinar, I didn't like doing video. And I had never done a webinar before. I didn't have any idea of all of the techie stuff that was involved. I didn't have any of the emails written. I really was winging it for the most part of it. And if I had, which might have been a good idea, but if I had looked around at everybody else doing webinars and everybody else's emails and everybody else's stuff, I would never have gotten that done. Because one, I put it together pretty quickly the very first time. Two, there are a lot of steps in making a webinar that I didn't know at the time, and I had already committed to the webinar date, and so I had to move forward. But if I had had any time, if I had been looking at other people's things, I would never have gotten it done. And I would have had so much self-doubt and so much fear about doing it that I would never have done it. And it turned out to be one of the biggest game changers of my business, was doing that webinar. And now that I know better, I know it does take normal people a little bit more time to get it up and running. And so you have to have laser focus on getting that done and not pushing it back. And if I had wanted to give excuses, I had many excuses to give. One, I was working full time, and well, the links were not working for a lot of my Facebook ads, and I could have been like, oh shoot, the link wasn't working. What am I gonna do? I can't run the webinar. I'm gonna have to push it back a couple of days. Or how about the fact that my house was burning down while I was doing the webinar? Could have said, hey guys, just give me a minute. Can we just like wrap this up? I'm gonna have to deal with my burning down house, because I was burning sage, and then it didn't go out, and it was like burning. I was inhaling sage. It was a bad scene. But I had to go on. The show must go on. No excuses. Exactly, Latoya. There can be no excuses. One of the times I did my webinar during my most recent program launch, I actually didn't have a voice, and I really wanted to use the replay, which I couldn't in the end because I didn't have a voice. I was coughing the entire time. Like, I could have said, hey guys, I'm really sick and I can't do the webinar. We'll have to do it tomorrow. There you go. Burn my eyebrows off. Yeah, like, so the show must go on. There can't be any excuses, and when you run your own business, unless you have a team of support, at the beginning it is just you. And so if you keep making excuses as to why you couldn't do things and things are negotiable, then you won't get there. That is another point, is that we don't get to say to our 9-to-5 job, oh hey, like, I just don't have time to come in today. I don't really think that you would have a job for much longer if you said to them regularly, I don't have time to come into work today. Sorry guys, it's gonna have to wait till tomorrow. It has to, like, there is no option. When you're building a business and you're working, or when you're building a business and you're a mom, or when you're building a business and you just have a busy freaking life, like, you need to make time for the shitty things you gotta do in your business. Like, I do not like doing everything in my business. Like, I can attest to that. I still hate writing emails. But someone's gotta do it. And if I'm not willing to outsource that, which I'm not, some things I am, some things I'm not, then I gotta do them. And even if it takes me, even though I work for myself, I don't work for my 9-to-5 job anymore, there are nights where I have been up till 3 a.m. finishing things because I had a deadline and I did not finish it yet. And so I don't get to go to sleep until it's done, even though I am my own boss. So you have to have laser focus and laser commitment to the deadlines that you set for yourself. Because what would happen if you were at your regular job? Would they just say, okay, no big deal? Nap and create, exactly. It's usually when I have workbooks due for my group program and I'm like, oh shiz, like the call's at 10 a.m. and I have to finish this workbook. So, okay, so those are some of the biggest mistakes. Now, one of the other things that I have made mistakes in the past is like being too closed off and not really sharing your truth. Like, nobody connects with you if you're trying to be like other people, or if you're trying to be like so profesh. Everybody knows that I am the least profesh person. That's not how I want to be. And that's, if like you require somebody who's super professional, then we're not going to get along anyways. Like, I am very casual and I like to be silly and goofy and fun. And so, I'm not going to connect with people that want me to be like super businessy and very professional and never swear. So that's just not going to work. And so I don't want to attract people like that anyways. So I have to share myself, and I have to share my story, and I have to share who I am and my struggles and the things that I'm really good at as well. So sharing your vulnerable story is the thing that will connect you. Being your true, authentic self, imperfections and all. There have been many videos that I have made that have had mistakes in them. There have been many private videos in my group where I am quite overtired and not at my best. And some of them are hilarious, and I just have to go with it. Some things don't go as planned, and just roll with the punches and know that I'm not perfect either. And so that means that you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect to be an entrepreneur. You do not have to be perfect to be a successful business owner. You don't have to be perfect to make 7 figures. Like, nobody's perfect. Newsflash. Okay, and the last thing I'm going to go into right now, or maybe some other things, but I wrote such a long list, I can't do it all in one sitting. The last thing I want to talk about that I'm going to try not to get emotional about is friends and family. And for any of you guys that are on, or have gotten to this point in the recording, that is, to be honest, was very difficult for me, and I think for most of my clients and a lot of people that I've spoken to on this journey, is that people say it's lonely. And the lonely part of it is not so much that you work for yourself per se. The lonely part of it is that nobody gets you, or it feels like nobody gets you. And it feels like people are not supportive, or like people don't, you can't talk about it with anyone. They don't understand what you're going through, and if you do talk about it, then they're worried. And, we struggle with money, we struggle with feeling overwhelmed, we struggle with not knowing what to do, not having anyone to ask questions to, not knowing anyone else going through this experience. So then when you also can't go to your friends and family, it is super tough. And so what do? Because doing it alone is really not an option if you want to make it. Doing it alone is not something I've really seen anyone be successful at so far. And so for me, the most important thing was having a tribe of people who were going through what I was going through. Whether that was in a public group or in real life. Like, to be honest, I really only had my podcast host, Mike, who had any inkling, but he's been doing online businesses for 10 years, so he was used to it. But at least he would get excited about things with me. But when I was really struggling, I really had no one to go to until I was a part of a group program. And then I started to develop relationships with some of the ladies in the group program. And we were each other's support system, and having a mastermind or an accountability partner really helped. Not just keep you accountable, but also as a person to talk to, because you are really alone. And I will say, my family, for the most part, has come around to what I'm doing. My friends don't really understand it so much, and I don't really try as hard with them to help them understand, because it took me a year. Like, look, we are actually in the industry, and we're struggling with it. We're feeling like beginners, or like I was, not anymore, but I was feeling like a beginner. And so it's hard to explain that to people that are not even in the industry. So finding comfort in actually true, honest connections with people that are going through what you're going through is so important. And not just to like leech off of them and be like, tell me everything you know, but just to like be there and understand what you're going through, and to cry when you need to cry, and to celebrate when you need to celebrate, because as we all know, there have been times where Tanya cries, And I'm not perfect. I'm not happy-go-lucky every single day. Things don't always go as planned. And like people say no, I stress about money, I stress about clients, I stress about everything that you stress about. I stress about all those things too. Just because you don't see it on video or you don't see it like in my conversations or my Instagram posts or whatever, doesn't mean I don't go through those things too. Like my business is a little bit further ahead in the sense that it's much more consistent and I don't really worry about those things as much now, but I am always up leveling. So every time I up level, I still feel all those fears. They just come back again. You know, I still like doubt myself when it's like, oh, can I really do that for my next step? Oh, is that really going to work out? What if it's not as good? What if I create something that nobody wants? Like you still have all of those fears, but now I have the process and I have the support system in place so that they don't overwhelm me the way that they used to. But it's like, I mean, I'm not one to talk, but I hear that it's like your first love or your first breakup, you know, like it hurts. The first cut is the deepest, right? Same thing with business. Your first disappointment hurts the most. Your first program launch that doesn't work hurts the most. Your first offer that doesn't sell hurts the most. And then you learn and you're like, oh, this is all part of the process, right? We fail, we get back up, we keep going, because it's the people that stay down, that don't get back up, that don't keep going, that don't keep trying. Those are the people that actually fail. Because if you never give up, you can't fail. And like I said at the beginning, it was non-negotiable. This was happening whether the universe wanted it to happen or not. I was making it happen. Thankfully, the universe rose up to support me. But I've had to believe in me more than anyone else. Probably the only person that believed in me outside of my business coach was me. Because I certainly didn't have my friends or my family who did. I'm not going to sing because I'm so bad at singing. But yes to Caitlin's, I get knocked down, I get up again. You're never going to keep me down. That was it. But yeah, so basically the point of this story is that don't let these things knock you down. You will be a beginner at all of this stuff, sales funnels. And oh, by the way, I didn't really talk about this. I swore this time I was really going to talk about sales funnels because it is such a major part of what I do and I never talk about it. But that is like a major part of what I do as a business coach, is helping you create your sales funnel and teaching people about sales funnels and how to create ones that convert. Just so everyone knows, since I never say that. But that there is an actual strategic process of creating a sales funnel. It is not innovative. You don't need to like recreate the wheel. Yes, you're going to put in your content, but just so everyone knows, behind all of these like Facebook ads and Facebook groups and social media posts and live videos and all these things, there is a very techie system going on behind the scenes that I teach in my program and that I teach to my clients, but that you might not know about. And it's not as simple as what you see. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that you likely don't see, and the strategy and the psychology behind it. So if you're not using a sales funnel, or if you're trying to put together Facebook ads and you're not seeing results, or if you've put up a landing page and you're not really sure why it's not converting, or you've created a lead magnet and not many people are downloading it and you don't really know why, this is likely the problem. The problem is likely either the messaging, which I see people do all the time, where they make mistakes in not actually connecting to the person's pain point or making it too complicated. Like, I'm a business coach. At the end of the day, I help people build businesses and make money. That's what I do. Yes, of course, I help people move beyond their fears and get outside their comfort zone and do things they would never do, and make sales funnels and set up Facebook ads and learn how to do sales calls and all these things. But at the end of the day, the simplified version of what I do is I help people build an online business that's successful and makes money. So what can you do to simplify your message so that it's hitting the pain point rather than fluffing it up and making it seem innovative and like creative and not like anything else you've ever seen? Like, the simplest explanation is the one that sells. Simple sells. Let's call it that. Simple sells. I have another little one that I've been talking about lately on some of my calls is the bold get hired. So the bolder you can be, the more outspoken you can be about a topic, the bold get hired. If you can be bold on a sales call, the bold get hired. If you can be bold with what you talk about, that's what gets hired. So be bold in your responses and simple sells. Those are my little tidbits of information that I just came up with right now. But yeah, basically there's a strategy behind this stuff, and don't get knocked down by disappointments, because it's the people that keep going, that believe in themselves more than anyone else, that make it. Because if you lose that belief in yourself, everything else doesn't matter. If you start to question if you can really do this, if you start to question if this is really meant for you, if you start to question, am I ever going to make money? You know, when is this going to happen? Is it ever going to happen? Am I going to be stuck in this situation forever? I mean, likely, one, you need a coach, because I honestly don't know anybody that is successful that doesn't have a coach. And two, so ask for help. And two, you need to stick with it and believe in yourself with every single cell to make it. Because the moment you don't, it will all fall apart. Like, if you don't believe it, one of the things I always say about like investing in your own coach is, if you wouldn't invest in a coach, that just says you don't believe in your program and your product or your service or whatever. Because if you wouldn't invest in getting a coach to help you, why would somebody else hire you? You don't even believe in you. You don't even believe that you can make money. So why is someone going to pay you? Right? It makes no sense. So you have to believe in your business so much that you're willing to do whatever it takes to make it a success for other people to see your business as a success. So at the end of the day, if you want to be a 6-figure or 7-figure business owner, the biggest mistake you can make is to see your business as what it is right now. It is not, the point is that it's not going to be what it is now in 6 months from now, in 1 month from now. So you need to make decisions in your business, and you need to act and embody and see yourself and speak like the business owner you will be in 6 months from now, or a year from now, or 5 years from now. Like, if I saw my business as what it was a year ago, I wouldn't have made any of the decisions I made. I wouldn't have hired a coach, one, who was very expensive. I would not have invested in the systems I used. I would not have invested in as much in Facebook ads. I would not have gotten this tripod to do videos, which I hated doing at the time. I would not have created a group program. I would not have created a sales funnel. I would not have hired a VA. I would not have created a membership area or a tripwire. All these things are done on a webinar. I wouldn't have done any of those things, because I would have been a coach who had a couple of clients who were paying her maximum $200 a month. If that's the kind of coach that I was, I wouldn't need all those things. So I needed to make decisions assuming that my business was going to be what it was going to be, what I wanted it to be. And so I put those systems in place, and I said to the universe, hello, I'm going to be so successful. And I know it, and that's why I've put into place these systems, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make that happen. And if something's not working, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to feel bad for myself. I'm going to ask for help, and I'm going to look for what's not working and what needs to change. What am I hearing all the time. One of my favorite stories is that I used to say, but everybody says they can't afford it. Nobody can afford it. My own business coach would say to me, what we see in our sales calls is a reflection of what we believe. And she was right. I believed at the time that my program was expensive. And it wasn't cheap. I don't think that my program is cheap. But when I realized what people were getting in exchange for the money, and when I put that into perspective, I shifted my own perspective of what I was offering, and it was much easier for me to see that what I was offering was so much more value than what I was charging. When I was just looking at the money, it was like, oh, like this is a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money in exchange for what they're getting. So put things in perspective, shift your own thoughts, and portray the vibes and be the business owner who you want to be, not the business owner you feel like you are right now. Because also, nobody sees your bank account. Nobody sees your systems. Nobody knows how many clients you have. So they don't know. So show up as the business owner you want to be, and don't let some of these pitfalls prevent you from progressing in your business. I'm sure I've been on here for a very long time, so I'm gonna head out. And if you do have any questions, let me know, write them in the comments below, and I wish you all the success in your business and none of the struggle. But if you are struggling in your business, then reach out to me, maybe post in this group, post a comment here. I'd love to answer it. I'd love to chat with you about it. If you need some support, that's what this group is here for. That's what I'm here for. That's what I do in my business. And that's why I've created the incredible community that I have, is so that you can feel supported, and so that you don't feel alone, and so that you have everything that you need, all the building blocks to create a successful, powerful 6 or 7 figure business. Okay. Have a wonderful evening. Happy Tuesday, and I will speak to you guys soon.